All right, a very good morning to you. It's good to see you right here on Your World. My name is Winnie Lubembe, and today, being a Wednesday, ideally we always talk about Wellness Wednesday. And on Wellness Wednesday, we talk about everything that you need to know as far as health, lifestyle, and everything, in between. But today we want to focus on something very, very important. All of us should actually be aware about and think about and also be in support of, and that is on early childhood development. And today we'll be taking a focus on the critical investment for a brighter future right here in the country. I have the perfect panel to discuss this. But as always, if you have a question or a comment, feedback, send them our way, and that is at NTV Kenya, and this is both on Facebook and on X, and tag me as well at Lubembe_Winnie. So there's so much to cover as far as early childhood development is concerned, and I know most of us are asking, first of all, we've heard about this over and over again, but why is it important that we're still talking about it, okay? So you want to stick around until the end of the show to understand why we need to have this conversation and see how different ways and different entities and institutions can support early childhood development. So I'm going to start with my immediate left. We have Abdullahi Hassan, who's an Education and Governance Sector Lead, Frontier Counties Development Council. Good to have you this morning. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Winnie.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here.
Karibu sana. And we have Dr. Lois Nyanjao, who's a Newborn and Child Health Section from the Ministry of Health, Kenya. Good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Winnie.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, and I'm happy to be here.
And we're happy to have you. And we have Professor Amina Abubakar, who's the Director, Institute for Human Development from the Aga Khan University. Good to have you this morning as well. You all look amazing, and thank you for your time really this morning. And I'm just going to start with you, Professor Amina, because this is not the first time we're talking about early childhood development. And I know Aga Khan is very huge as far as early childhood development is concerned. So can we just get to understand the basics? Early childhood development, what exactly does it entail, and why is it important to drive the conversation this morning?
Okay, so when we are looking at early childhood development, maybe I'll just make a clarification.
Sure.
At the individual level,
Okay.
we are talking of all the holistic changes. You know, whether it's language development, cognitive development, motor, socio-emotional skills that happens in a child's life
All right.
from conception to 8 years. You know, so all those changes that would happen that would ensure a really strong foundation.
All right.
But also, I know ECD is used a lot to refer to the services
That are being
and programs. Yeah. So when you just hear people talking of ECD again,
ECD.
exactly. So we are talking of those holistic services again that would ensure optimal development in children through these very first years of life. So the other bit of your question is also very important. Why do we need to invest in it?
Yeah.
Why is it important? So, you know, like what's amazing about the human brain, you know, what is called the master organ, is that it's one of the organs that comes, you know, when children are born.
Yeah.
We still have lots we can do
Yes.
to really build it. You know, so in the first 5 years of life, children achieve between 90 to 95% of their brain potential.
Absolutely.
You know, and it controls every other outcome. So we need to ensure that we optimize the development of the brain. And for the brain to develop adequately and optimally, we need good nutrition, early learning opportunities, protection for the children, you know, and many other sectors coming together. And then we shouldn't forget that, you know, that little young baby that comes needs a caregiver. And then how do we also optimize our services for caregivers so that they can provide the right environment for the brain to grow and thrive.
Absolutely.
And why, you know, the investments in it are so important because one, it's the foundation. Think of it when you're building a house.
Yeah.
If you don't have the right foundation,
foundation.
the rest won't
That's
go
it.
right.
Yes.
So later on in the show, I can really give statistics
Absolutely.
around what we gain when we
Yeah.
invest. But
Absolutely. Yes, we'll talk about those investments. And first of all, what type of investments need to be put when we're talking about early childhood development? And also the state that we are in as a country, and where do we need to go, or where do we need to be, where we can look back and say, you know what, yes, this is right for all the children. But Dr. Lois, Professor Amina talked about, again, 5 years, 0 to 5, right? Formative years of a child. So many changes that are happening. Yes. So do you want to just take us through some of this, you know, changes that we need to? Because Waswahili sema samaki mkunje angali. Yeah.
Thank you, Winnie, for that. And the development of a child does not begin when they are born.
Yeah.
It begins as they are forming in their mother's body, and so the brain starts growing then. The cells start forming then, and the connections begin at that point. Okay. So even the condition of the mother while she's pregnant really impacts on the kind of baby that we will get. So if we protect the environment of the mother at the time when she's pregnant, then we are setting the stage to have a good baby born. And once the baby is with us, it is upon us as a community, as a village. It says that famous saying, it takes a village. It now takes all of us as a community to bring forth a baby who will experience the world in the most positive way. And like Professor said, we are looking for this child to develop in those 5 main dimensions. Cognitive. Cognitive means this person, when they're at the point of reasoning, they can make logical decisions. Then language, can be able to communicate with the rest of the world. Emotional stability, are they able to process the stressors within the environment and behave in the right way? And then social development, can they interact with everyone else in the right way? So all those components need to be input at this formative stage when they are born between 0 to 8 years.
I see that. And Mr. Abdullahi, when we're talking about Frontier Counties Development Council, like Dr. Lois said, it takes a village to literally raise a child. So can we then talk about FCDC and why it's important, first of all, for, you guys to be part of this conversation?
Thank you so much, Winnie. Frontier Counties Development Council is a regional economic bloc for 10 counties that span across 4 regions.
All right.
We have Lamu and Tana River from the coast, Wajir, Mandera and Garissa from northeastern. We have the 2 counties of Cielo and Marsabit of eastern, and the North Rift. This is Samburu, Turkana, and West Pokot. And as you may be aware, these are counties that normally have unique challenges. And they came together to make sure at least they address these unique challenges. They cover about 60% of Kenya's landmass, with about 5.3 million Kenyans, home to 5.3 Kenyans, as per the KNSP, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics data of 2019. So this is what made the governors in the first phase of devolution to come together and have a block that can really address and mobilize issues for their development.
And I see, again, these are ASAL counties, right? Yes. So what are some of these unique challenges, so that, again, we'll come back to Professor Amina then to say, so on a national level, where are we as far as what needs to be done? But what are some of these unique, specific challenges that you've noticed in ASAL counties as compared to other counties?
Thank you so much. These areas are unique in the sense that there are frequent droughts, insecurity, the cattle wrestling, and other related issues in the West Pokot and Turkana areas, the international terrorist issues in the porous border of Somalia, from Mandera up to Lamu, the issues of underdevelopment in terms of infrastructure and social services like education and healthcare. So it is a place that really performs poorly in almost all developmental indices in this country. The lowest literacy in education, the lowest in terms of the skilled delivery, the lowest in terms of uptake of healthcare services. So we are now fighting and reversing those issues in the ASAL counties.
I see that. So Professor Amina, to pick on that, so how do these unique challenges, then maybe cap that with other challenges that we are facing, how does that then affect, the growth and development really of a child? Or maybe Dr. Lois, you want to take that, and then Professor Amina, you'll piggyback on the same?
Either.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. The environment where a child is growing up in really influences how they are able to form the brain connections. So if you have a child who is growing up, perhaps a baby born during a drought period, the mother will really struggle to feed this child adequately. And where the nutrition of this child is impaired, then that means that they are not able to form the right connections in the brain, which can result in either this child is a slow learner or they are not able to form enough motor. When we say motor, we mean the muscles. They're not able to move as they should.
Yeah.
They're not able to communicate as well. So the environment really impacts. And drought is just one example. It could be a conflict situation where the mother is perhaps not able to protect this child. The child maybe may undergo some gender-based violence. So all these form the environment where the child is growing in, and that impacts how their brain develops.
I see that. So then how does this, in the long run, maybe contribute to where we are as a country, and what are some of the statistics? Where are we based on your research? Because I know Aga Khan, the research unit is very, very thorough, when it comes to conducting some of the studies.
So thank you. So just before that, I would like to highlight something. So at Aga Khan University Institute for Human Development, we have made the ASAL regions our priority areas.
Okay.
Largely because we want to reach children on the margin who experience polycrisis. And polycrisis here we mean multiple stresses.
Yes.
So if you think of some of these ASAL regions, what children are experiencing is, food insecurity, coupled with ongoing internal or external conflict, coupled with lack of access to good quality ECD services. Like if you go to some of these counties, just accessing an ECD, we were talking to a parent who said, how do I allow my 3-year-old to walk 8 kilometers that they're going to learn? So when you couple all this, it has brought us inequality. So if you look at the Kenya Demographic Health Surveillance, the national average for stunting, which is being too short for your age, and what we know from science is then when you're too short for your age, it impairs your brain development. So the national average is around 18% of children, which means that they're not achieving their optimal development. You go to counties like West Pokot, we are talking of 34% of the children. You look at another indicator that compromises early childhood development, teenage pregnancies. In some of these counties, it is so high. In some of our studies, in some counties, more than 50% of the women became mothers before they were 18. Which means not only were they biologically slightly too young to have the child, but socially they were not prepared for the responsibilities that come with having a child, the economic challenges. Now, what happens is these small inequalities build up to even larger inequalities because these are the building blocks for good education. So if children are not getting early literacy, they're not getting social-emotional skills, girls are walking kilometers just searching for water, missing school. Means when it comes to class 8 exams or whatever exams, they will not do well. Then it goes to Form 4, they will not do well. And one of the key challenges which Abdullah can talk about is they actually don't get teachers, people from that region qualifying to go to teacher training colleges, and then they have a shortage of teachers. It becomes a vicious circle that just doesn't end. And therefore, if we can invest early so that we have people in the region doing really well, having a really strong basis in education, they can transform their own communities.
Absolutely. And you want to say, contribute to the same, and especially when Professor talks about some of these unique challenges. First of all, teachers, I know in the country, so there's a whole lot of conversation about the number of teachers that are being employed. But then again, when you're talking about ECD teachers in these counties, how big of a problem
I want to agree with Professor Amina. The teacher issue is a big problem in the frontier counties. To the extent that this is a new narrative, which was not there before in the country. I can remember when we were students in our early times, we were being taught in schools by non-local teachers who don't come from those areas. Teachers were very patriotic, they were very available, but there's a new wave of change where teachers go to those sites, work for about 2 to 3 years, and leave. It's becoming more of an employment bureau for others. And this is really bringing a lot of issues. You will see schools and social service facilities along the border towns in Somalia, the Port of Somalia, the long Port of Somalia have been ghosted. They turn to shanties, children run away from schools, schools are not in action. And we got a sigh of relief when ECD functions really become part of the devolved functions for the county government. To the extent that they can at least have their own tailor-made local solutions. But then again, we have an issue. To the extent that very difficult to get 100% qualified TAC certified ECD teachers providing the care in our schools. And as a result, you might see some very remote and peripheral towns or villages with people who are not teachers teaching, who require to be supported, to be trained, to be motivated, to be given the confidence so as to pass this kind of skills. And that's why as FCDC, we come in handy with the support of very strategic and key partners like Aga Khan University Institute of Human Development to make sure at least we capacity build these teachers. We also provide them with the necessary information and tools that can make them provide their services. And we are alive to the fact that ECD is not only a teaching issue, it's not an education issue.
True.
It's a holistic service provision. To the extent that a school is what it is when it is properly fenced for the safety of the children, when there is some food to at least keep these children in the institutions, when there are facilities like sanitation facilities that are friendly for the children to use. And some of these big things become a luxury to some of these areas. And when we are talking about children footing or trekking for some kilometers to access basic education, so when you talk about a green facility or a climatic friendly facility where there is no power, where there is no fence, where even the life fence is missing, where children are struggling to get food to eat, it is something that really requires a very collaborative effort from all quarters.
Absolutely.
And we are very happy. We have the opportunity now. And there are some vehicles that are very specially tailored to at least provide this kind of services.
I see that. And Dr. Lois, just to piggy on what Abdullahi said, so all these inequalities, and at the same time, when it comes to national exams, there's no provision for, oh, this is for like, you know, say like Asal counties, and then this is for, you know, no, it is equal, right? So when you talk about these inequalities, and even to a larger scale, and the fact that we're approaching this from a holistic, you know, approach, how does this impact the child and even the community at large, you know, say even the families, because, you know, like Abdullahi said, sometimes even getting food, you know, is a very big issue. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Let me first reiterate that early childhood development is a goal we are working towards. That goal will be fed by all these ingredients we are saying, all these investments that we want to make, whether it's in the health sector, whether it's in the education sector, whether it's in the social protection sector, all those come together to feed towards our goal of early childhood development. And when we attain this goal of early childhood development, we get this very robust human capital for Kenya, so that Kenya can move from being a middle-income country to a high-income country. No amount of donor support will get us there. It has to be we Kenyans who lift ourselves from the level we are at to the next level. So if we invest in early childhood development, all these components, all these ingredients, whether it is our education system, if we continue scaling the school feeding programs, we ensure that our children are immunized, we ensure that we are having food security so that the nutrition of these children is attained. If we are ensuring that our children are safe and secure, we remove all the ills that may be putting them at risk of injury or any other form of insecurity, then we are building towards early childhood development.
I see that.
And that is what will transform this country.
Absolutely. And I want to ask, what are some of then these initiatives that then the government can invest in to make sure that, you know, we get there, like you say? Because even sometimes, and especially when we're talking about food, right? Even some of this relief food, it's usually the basic. Might not be nutritious, but it's just as long as they have something to eat, you know? But is that enough though?
Not in the least. The government has really put in quite a bit of effort towards getting us there, towards early childhood development. And it begins with the Constitution. Our Constitution has laid the foundation for us to be able to build the initiatives and the institutions that are necessary. From the Constitution, we have 3 main acts, and the anchor of that act is the Children's Act. The Children's Act is very categorical on protecting the welfare of the child and ensuring that they enjoy the rights that have been accorded to them by the Constitution. We then have other acts, like the Health Act, ensures that every child has the right to attain their highest standard of health and some of the areas where we have investment in is, for instance, immunization. We ensure that we have put in investments to provide immunization for the most burdensome diseases, which is provided at no cost to these children.
All right.
And then we manage conditions that are of the highest burden, like diarrhea and pneumonia, so that we reduce the morbidity. Sorry, when I say morbidity, I mean the suffering, the illnesses, and the deaths that these children may suffer from due to illnesses that are preventable.
All right.
So the investments have been there. In the education sector, there's another bundle of investments. In the social protection sector, there's another bundle of investments. And all these work in concert. We can't say that the health sector will run with it and on their own.
No,
we all
we
work
can't
in
work in
concert,
silos,
and that's why we have the National Council for Children's Services, which is the coordinating mechanism for all of us to get us to early childhood development.
I see that.
Yeah.
I see.
Can you allow me to say
All right,
something?
yes.
So I want to reiterate two things because I think they're really important to emphasize.
Yeah.
One is the empowerment of caregivers. You know, like we're investing, of course, it's a child-centered approach, but who has the child at home?
It's the caregiver.
Now we need to really invest in caregivers. And again, multifaceted investments. You know, with all these issues people are facing, economic issues post-COVID, it's really been difficult. Mental health issues are high.
Yes.
You know, so we tell the parent should protect the child, but the parent is extremely stressed. That's why we find a lot of violence against children. We need to invest in the economic well-being of caregivers and communities. We need to increase, to sensitize them. On, you know, like sometimes it's just amazing when you sit down with a caregiver and explain to them that we actually build brains. That there are really specific things you can do. You know, the way people sit down and read to their children, storytell, dance, puzzles. You're building the child's connections and brain. Quite a few people don't have that level of awareness. So we need to empower them. The other thing I really would like to emphasize is the inequities between region and within regions. So Nairobi County, if you look at its stats in general, they would look amazing.
Yeah. But then when you go to...
But now when you go to informal settlements, to places where parents are experiencing chronic poverty, chronic stress, lack of sanitation, open sewers, you may give your child food, but if they're permanently getting infections and having cholera and diarrhea, they're wasting all the nutrients.
That's true.
You know, so I think those two investments that say who are the most needy and how do we enrich them, and also how do we empower communities to actually take better care of themselves. I think that would be, you know, some of the areas we need to invest more.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe we need to add to that.
Okay.
As much as there are opportunities, and the Constitution, the Basic Education Act, the Health Act, and all this provide the opportunities, but then the reality is far from what we are seeing. The windows for affirmative actions are so narrow, they are so limiting. The opportunities available to the child in the ASAL counties is not as adequate and as robust as those provided in other counties. For instance, we have the National Council for Nomadic Education in Kenya, which was formed purely to at least be a special vehicle for education in the pastoralist land. How are they facilitated? How are they provided with the necessary resource to do this work? The Children's Act is so robust, very proactive. There is also the part and the role of the county government in terms of safeguarding children issues. But then how effective and how usable is it? Kenyans all over and even beyond are next week converging in Wajir for the Pastoral Leadership Summit. And we are discussing on how to discern and run away from issues that are bottlenecks to the finances and policies of this area. Among the quick, very glaring statistics that are in place is out of the 2.5 million children out of school, 1.5 million, about 60 and above % come from those counties. A statistics, a survey we are doing in conjunction with Aga Khan University Institute of Human Development, a snippet already shows the average ratio of a teacher to children in the early learning institutions is 1 to 75. While the guidelines provided by the ministry is 1 to 25. And these are children, very young, so fragile, require a lot of attention, need to be supported in play, needs to be at least protected. Listen to them, give some kind of psychological attention. How will one teacher in a remote land, burdened with heavy duties of fetching for livelihood and running after water, take care of those 75 children? When there are no desks, the toilets are very handy, and all these things are issues that are looking at us straight in our faces. And these are issues that we need to address. We are very happy. The provisions in the Constitution and all other regulations, including the SDGs, overarching goal of leaving no one behind, are so robust, so positive and enabling. But then really,
the reality.
Are we supporting that with resources and opportunities? These are the issues that we really need to interrogate and see how we can outgrow on these issues.
And guess what? We'll actually be interrogating that after the break, because I do not want to rush anyone into, so what do we do? What do we do? And then, let's go on a break. No. Let's take a short break. And then when we come back, then we'd want to understand. So yes, we've talked about investments and why it is important to invest in early childhood development. But what exactly are these investments that need to be done? And this is across different entities, governments, the county governments as well. And even, institutions and organizations that are non-governmental organizations, and also based on research, right? What is it that you see that some of these gaps that needs to be filled as soon as now, so that we get to that point? 2030 is not too far, right? From here, So we'll be addressing and interrogating all that after the break. But remember, the conversation, continues after the break. If you want to engage with us on our socials, and that is at NTV Kenya, both on Facebook and on X, and tag me as well at Lubembe_Winnie. We'll be looking at your feedback after the break. Stay with us. The show is Your World.
I'll have the usual on the rocks, double.
I'll have whatever he's having.
Real recognize real. No added sugar, no preservatives. 100% real fruit.
The Government Delivery Unit invites you to witness the transformation and development that has taken place throughout the 47 counties since the Kenya Kwanza government took office.
Hii maji na imenisaidia kwa njia kubwa sana kwa sababu saizi kwangu hakuna kitu ninanunuaga.
Watch Kenya's transformation journey through the citizens' lens as we take stock of the progress made so far and the pillars set to improve Kenya's social and economic standing.
Nilijaribu kuingia SHA, haikutiki muda na imeingia sawa na inanitibu.
Tune in on Wednesday, 4th December at 9:40 p.m. on NTV. Government Delivery Unit. Bettering lives the better way.
We have what it takes to transform the Republic of Kenya.
This week on your most loved show, I go trekking deep in the Aberdare Ranges. I'm still following royalty. I get to see where Queen Elizabeth had her first breakfast as queen.
The late Queen Elizabeth came here. Yeah. She had breakfast, and then it got the second name, Queenscape.
Also, just because Ali have breakfast, I ikaitwa Queenscape.
Yeah.
I get to experience the longest, tallest, and greatest waterfall in East Africa and the second longest in Africa.
With a crucial mandate that stretches through undertaking criminal proceedings against offenders to representing the state in criminal cases and handling matters of international relations, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions can be compared to that crucial nerve in the judicial system that works overdrive to secure justice. And now, in another crucial milestone, and only on NTV, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Renson Ingonga, will on 4th December 2024 formally launch the ODPP Strategic Plan covering the year 2023 to 2027. Tune in and find out what the strategic plan is all about, and get to hear from the DPP and the main actors in the justice system on how this document and its implementation is important and crucial to you.
Get ready to have your mind blown.
Hey, what's up, my good people? This is your girl, Avril.
We're bringing you the hottest show in town.
The king of gospel, and I represent for Quantum Mix.
Yo, Butrus aka the Sharp God up in the mix, you know what I'm saying? NTV, shout out to you, bro.
From exclusive interviews with the biggest names in the game.
And
snippets from your favorite live performances. Don't miss out on the fun. Tune into Kwetu Mix every weekday from 5 to 6 p.m. only on NTV.
For fast relief of strong pain, like headache, toothache, and muscle pain. And I am finally released from pain and ready to be there for those who need me. Try Panadol Extra for fast and effective.
The Fire Award Conference will be held on December 5th, 2024 at the Serena Hotel, and the gala dinner held on December 6th, 2024 at the Safari Park Hotel.
All right, welcome back. The show is Your World, and just in case you're tuning in right now, the focus is on early childhood development, and we're taking a special emphasis on how critical investments are to, rather for a bright future right here in the country as far as ECD is concerned. And today I have a very able panel who are not shy to say, listen, this is where the problem is, and these are the solutions that we need. And from my immediate left is Abdullahi Hassan Malim, who's an education and governance sector lead from Frontier Counties Development Council. We also have Dr. Lois Nyanjao, who's a newborn and child health section. I want to get you look at your proper title.
Doctor,
right?
Working
Yes.
in the newborn and child health section in Ministry of Health.
There we go, from the Ministry of Health. And we also have Professor Amina Abubakar, who's the Director, Institute for Human Development from the Aga Khan University. And I know, the Institute for Human Development, I know you're very big on research, right?
Mm-hmm.
And before we went on a break, we really talked about where the problem is, the challenges, that are available, and why it's important for, investments to be made as far as early childhood development is concerned. So then what do we need? Where do we need to go, first of all? What are some of these gaps, that you have identified, say, during research or studies? And, where do we need to start as soon as now?
So one of the most critical gap, in my opinion, is a multi-sectorial approach. You find health works separately, education works separately. Sometimes agriculture doesn't even realize the big role they have in ensuring a good start for children. Sometimes you find that financing is not brought in early enough, social protection. I think countries that have really made an impact and a dent in the way they provide a good start have had a very strong multi-sectorial approach to early childhood, where all the different programs come together and say, how do we do our best for children? I think for me that is one very critical gap. So sometimes there are efforts that are not coordinated. And I'll give you an example. The built environment people live in is very important for well-being. Noise is a major stressor for your brain and the child's brain. Heat is bad for children's well-being. Of course, open sewage, lack of playgrounds. Children need to play so that their muscles can grow, they can interact with others. It's through play they learn. Look at all these big buildings with no play areas.
Oh, yes. Yep. And they continue to develop every single day. You wake up, there's another one close to you.
So for me, I think the biggest gap in Kenya now is really a very well-coordinated multi-sectorial approach that say, how does every decision we make influence a good start for our children.
Okay. And when you talk about then a multi-sectoral approach, yeah, someone might be watching us and thinking, okay, fine. So what are some of this, let's say, like sectors, institutions, maybe governments, you know, civil society groups, you know, that you'd want to see work together, and how would you want to see them work together for the better goal, you know, of the child?
So I will start, and please join in.
Yeah.
So of course, Ministry of Health is at the core, because at conception and the first 3 years, the ministry has a big role. Ministry of Education, Social Protection, Financing. You can talk many things, but without the right resources, that won't work. But Ministry of Planning, those who plan infrastructure need to be on the table. Agriculture, nutrition. I don't even think I can think of any ministry.
That's not
gender, social. Yeah, we need all the different sectors to think. Everywhere we are, children have to be there. Because if you think of private sector, we also have a large number of women now working. There are fabulous laws that we need, breastfeeding spaces and all that. Who is implementing them? How are employers ensuring that women are able to get into the work area during their reproductive years and don't have to choose between family and the workplace? You know, so I would say everyone needs to be on the table and say, for a brighter future, we have to build a strong start for the child, and everything we do needs to look at how are we serving our our future generations.
I see that.
Maybe to talk that we need, in the pursuit of a holistic approach for child upbringing, we need to at least spotlight the State Department of Children's Services.
All right.
And specifically, the National Council for Children's Service, which is an organization or an organ that has been mandated to at least oversee children affairs and monitor children outcomes. So if you look at the role of county government in the Children's Act, there's a provision for them to come up with the county structures. If we can have such structure, bringing together all the necessary actors from the holistic approach, or what we call the nurturing care framework, the health component is there, the safety and protection issues there, education is there, and all other components that are very important, including nutrition. So if they can work in that approach, and we strengthen those mechanisms that are already in place, which unfortunately are not well resourced, we will have gone far. For instance, in our country, we have what we call the county steering groups that are coordinated formally by in our counties by the National Drought Management Authority, used to provide the secretariat a role. Can we think along those lines without duplicating and creating other structures? Use these structures that are in place and ensure they are well resourced and they are functionalized to pursue their activities. For instance, in my sector, the Sector Forum for Education and Social Services, we have a forum where we bring together the county executive committee members in charge of education and social services to at least discuss and harmonize policies in these areas, share best practices, and take a unified approach on ECD matters in our area. But then that is not enough. We need to broaden that, and we need to see how we can at least make sure each and every component that is very useful is in that, so that we share tasks and we share opportunities as they come here.
And at the same time, I mean, different counties have their own, I want to say, like specific needs. And especially when it comes to, you know, like education, health, you know, you might find that there's some counties that lacking in one area that one county is, you know, is more stronger on, and vice versa. So my question to you would be, so then how do we, understanding the different needs that different counties have, but at the same time also speak the same language, and especially when it comes to early childhood development. What would you say, how do we get there, where regardless of the different unique challenges that are in the different counties, when it comes to early childhood development, we speak the same language?
Very true. So I think so. Early children issues are domiciled at the State Department of Children's Services, but then also the county, according to Schedule 4, child care facilities is at the counties. So we need to have the county departments of social services and the children department harmonizing efforts, looking for other actors, coming together, be it under the office of the county secretary, whose role is to coordinate county government functions, and or maybe using it as a group within the county steering group. I think so it is doable. It has been done before. And I'm sure we can have such kind of arrangement that will work.
Yeah. Dr. Lois, I want to hold you just a little bit because Professor Mina wants to add on to something because you're speaking on behalf of GAVA. So I'll come back to you to understand. So then what exactly, understanding all this, what is the government doing and what are some of these opportunities? But yes, Professor Mina, go ahead.
I'm listening to Abdullahi, and what comes to mind is we can learn from countries that have been very successful.
Okay.
One of the reasons some of these things don't work is lack of authority. So Latin American countries have had really huge, progress in ensuring optimal educational and health outcomes, even while they're struggling with economic issues. An example of Cuba.
Yes.
So how do they do this? And even other countries like Chile, Peru, they actually ensure the multi-sectorial coordinating committee is domiciled in the president's office.
All right.
Actually, our neighbors, Tanzania, are doing very well in rolling out a multi-sectorial team on early childhood, and that is domiciled in the president's office. I'm not saying that is what should happen in Kenya, but you need a coordinating body with authority. So like in Tanzania, and we do a lot of work in Tanzania, we are always called for this meeting by the office of the president. It doesn't mean she turns up, but everyone turns up.
Yeah.
HIV menace. It was put under the office of the president.
Yeah.
You can remember the National AIDS Control Council.
Yes.
It's a doable thing, and that authority will drive action.
Yeah. All right. So then, Dr. Lois, so understanding, from what Professor Amina said, that we need a multi-sectoral approach to really, help scale this up. So what are some of these opportunities, that are available, say, for the government to work with other stakeholders to make sure that we get there, when it comes to early childhood development? And then we'll talk about then how do we scale up.
Okay. And thank you. And I think earlier we had mentioned that there has been some effort towards building that legal framework that will enable us now embed specific interventions for us to take up, whether it is health sector to take up or social protection or agriculture. So the legal framework that is ready.
Yes.
And an institution has been established. We have the NCCS, the National Council for Children's Services. That is ready.
Yeah.
It may have challenges in terms of being resourced and perhaps bringing on board all the sectors. They have brought on board several, but we now realize there's a lot more. There is no one who does not have a role in this. So the opportunities are plenty. And like we said, we can't do this alone even as government. As big as government is, we can't do this alone. We need the academia. We need that research because we have to make those evidence-based decisions. We need the civil society because they're the ones who are really, really in touch with our communities. And we need even the religious community because the messages we have, there's a way we may frame them that may not resonate as well with our communities. So bringing everyone on board, the opportunities are there. We just need to ramp this up. And that is coming on because we have now the integrated ECD policy. It's integrated because it was not done by health or by social protection. We all came together and made one policy. That is now ready, awaiting cabinet approval for us now to roll out. And so from 2025, we anticipate that we will be now rolling out and implementing this integrated ECD policy with everyone has a role, even you, Winnie.
No, absolutely.
You have a role.
Yes.
You'll have a role. We have to push this message. And guess what? The first place we start is raising awareness on ECD. And the ECD, that is the goal that we want to achieve and the inputs or the ingredients all of us are going to put in to get us there. So that is one opportunity we have and we are looking forward to it. We are all very eager to get this going because it's been a long time coming. But the day is 9.
The biggest challenge that I've had from, the two of you and even you, Professor Amina, is resourcing. Resourcing is a very big issue. It could be in terms of like human capital, could be in terms of fund, and funding. And I'm just curious to understand, so then how are you working together with the government, just to ensure that, because like you said, we cannot work in silos. We need to, come together to, support so that we make sure that we attain what we need to attain as far as ECD is concerned. So how are you
I have a slightly controversial view.
We
always assume the resource is the problem.
But
it's actually, are we utilizing the available resources adequately? I think some of the interventions we are talking about are very low costs. some no cost at all.
Yeah.
It's probably lack of awareness, not being prioritized. I think not the right investments.
Yes.
I'll just give an example. I was asking in a county that cannot be named. Why is it that every time we talk about ECD, you're talking about building more schools?
True. Yeah.
You're putting so much effort in the hardware, but there is enough evidence when the software is good. If you have a good, motivated, well-trained teacher with very minimal resources, they can actually ensure children gain the competences they need. Well, it provides a nice photo opportunity for whoever built it and branding and everything. So, yes, we could do with more resources, but I would also want us to think, are we using the resources we have
available
in the right places?
I see that. That's a really, really good question.
Related to that is our socialization to ECD in this country. Before devolution, ECD used to be left at the whims of the local governments. Municipalities, the county councils are the ones that were running even the ECD schools. And that brought the thinking that ECD is not very important. So that's why I feel the first step is for us to prioritize rightly ECD and use the resources appropriately. We must justify why invest in ECD and maybe mount through Aga Khan University Institute of Human Development and other child practitioners on how we need to undertake an ECD investment case. Let us be very frank about it. We give a huge amount of money to universities and higher education, while the reverse should have been the true picture. Because if you don't develop that child at foundational level, if you invest even a lot of money at tail end, the person whose brain has been terrorized and damaged might not be of any significant use at the tail end of his career growth. So we are upside down in our priority issues, and these discussions are very important. These are the policy advocacies we require. And I think so these noises are the things that can really make this country realize realities. The biggest problem is when you talk about road projects, everybody is there flagging it off. When you hear about projects that are impactful in courts, you will see even, I don't want to mention names, people will be there. But nobody talks for the child. The child is not a serious advocate for him or herself because they don't have the voting power. Unfortunately, in our country, political supremacy over any other thing. So where the politician can get his cut well is where resources follow, but it's not on where really this investment should be done.
And that is just
so I want to agree with the professor. We need to at least be very proactive and be very rightful in making meaningful and serious investments based on science and research.
And even before I got to Dr. Louis to sort of like respond to that. So then what opportunities are there for you, as Frontier Counties, Development Council, to make sure that then you scale up whatever, because like we said, we have really good laws, we have really good policies, but implementation is where there's a big challenge. So what are some of these opportunities that are for you?
There are a lot of good opportunities already taking place. One being the coordination efforts I just mentioned. Another one is building partnerships and strategic alliances with like-minded organizations like Aga Khan University Institute of Human Development, where we are working on programs to make sure we showcase through evidences the need for investing in ECD. We're doing that. And even in the upcoming policy meeting in Wajir, which is, I call it, a pilgrimage. Almost all pastoralists are moving that direction. We will have our place to at least talk about it and really advocate for these issues. We are also now undertaking an ECD survey in the frontier counties where we want to at least come up with a real situation on the ground and come up with the first blueprint ECD regional plan for the FCDC region with the support of Aga Khan University Institute of Human Development. We're also working with other partners to make sure at least we integrate digital learning in our schools. There is early learning digital integration taking place. There's an organization called EIDU, which is supporting 150,000 learners in the 10 FCDC counties. We are also now having some partnerships with IDRC, International Development Research Center and Aga Khan, to at least make sure we address the disproportionate care services on women, young women and girls, so as to make sure at least we provide quality childcare services so that these mothers can get opportunities to at least engage in meaningful and gainful work, or at least to have some leisure time to take care of that. We're also working very closely with other like-minded organizations like NACONEC, National Council for Children's Services, to make sure there is some integration of our education. I gave you a very glaring statistics. 2.5 million children out of school, 1.5 coming from that place. And these children are not out of school. They are only out of the mainstream schools. They're in duksis and madrasas. We need to integrate our education system and ensure those children who are out of this school are given the right education wherever they are. During droughts, pastoralists move out with their animals. And the girls are normally the ones who are more disadvantaged, and the young boys to go and herd those animals. How can we make sure we take education and other healthcare services to those children where they are? I was sharing with Dr. some minutes ago the issue on acute malnutrition. The acute malnutrition rate is the highest. The GAM rate, global acute malnutrition rate, is the highest in the FCDC counties. Turkana has been one of the counties I want to single out very early. And we can support those counties if we can improve the capacity of the community health promoters to detect malnutrition issues. And where possible, come with some policy waivers to make sure at least they can manage these acute malnutrition issues where children are far flung from health facilities. The health facilities are very few. They are very far from these people. And we continue talking about mainstreaming services. It's not possible. You might have good papers, the constitution is there, the acts are there, but then these acts, people cannot use them the way it is. You need to take those acts and those services to the people so that the people can really take advantage of it.
I see that. And Dr. Lois, so clearly goodwill, and this is goodwill from all sectors, you know, but mostly Gava. So then how do we prioritize this? Because again, like Abdullah and Professor also said, that we tend to put more emphasis, you know, across universities, you know, like high institutions of learning, you know, and even secondary schools, you know, with the free education and all those things. But then we forget, you know, early childhood development. So then when we talk about goodwill, right, how do we get there? How do we prioritize this just to make sure that, you know, we do not leave anyone?
Right, we don't have to leave anyone behind. Yes, thank you for that. And before I answer you, I want to also echo what Prof shared, that yes, we do need resources. So, I mean, we have an entire laundry list of interventions we want to implement. And the resources, as we all know, may not be all available for these things that we want to do. But even the little that we have, we can optimize. We can optimize the little that we have, and not just at the macro level, macro being at the public sector, government level, but even in the household, that for parents or caregivers who have children, the resources they have are adequate to foster positive interaction to their children. Parents, and I'm urging this myself and also even my relatives and friends, we don't need to buy toys in a shop.
Right?
That child, 1 year, 6 months, can knock on a cup with a spoon, and that is play for them, and that fosters those positive interactions. Whoever is at home with that child, whether it's a parent or the nanny or a relative, if they interact, not just put the child in a corner and tell them, you do that. Let's play together. Parents, if we can grow a bean with a child, that is play, and that is positive interactions, and it is building towards that early childhood development. But then coming to your question, we have the positive will. I'm pretty sure of that. Given that we have that already legal framework laid out, we have the institutions, we have now this collaboration coming together, we are bringing on board now research, the goodwill is there. And it's for us to build on that, give it a bit more momentum, so that then by the time we are saying we are now rolling out our policy, it has energy. So the opportunities are there. And the resources are also there. We work very closely with multilateral organizations like UNICEF. They are really supportive for technical assistance. When I say technical assistance, it means that they build capacity of even like someone like me to understand where we need to go with ECD based on the global or the gold standards from around the world, build capacity at the county level, so that when we interact with the caregivers of these children, the person with this child, then we are doing the intervention in the right way. Another area is identifying children who may have come with disabilities. And that's an area that we are really putting some investments in. And it starts at home.
Yeah.
The more you interact with this child, person to person, is when the caregiver will understand, my child is supposed to be doing this by now, but they're not yet doing it. And therefore, they can seek the right help, and the right diagnosis can be made. And the facilities that are available to support these children with disabilities then can be built up. That is where now investments come in.
Okay, yeah. I see that. And I can see your time is far much spent. CBC came in and forced almost everybody.
Yes.
I'm sure
that's
you've had,
avenue.
right? And lots of parents be like, hey, sasa mita toa happy feathers sita usiku to make.
That's the other avenue.
All right. So then now that we have understood where we are, where the gaps are, and what we need to do, so to close the conversation, because we need to literally go. I'm going to begin with you, then we'll finish with you, Professor. So leaving this conversation, what is it that you'd want people who are watching us, and even, government institutions, everybody, because like you said, this is a collective effort. What do you want them to leave this conversation with, and what is it that you need to see done as soon as now?
For our country and our ASAL counties to really enjoy the real meaning of transformation, we must invest in the young citizens, right from the pregnancy period of the mother.
Yes, yes.
Because if the child develops well at formative ages, this child will become somebody who can be of a lot of use to this country. In terms of technical skills, in terms of values, and in terms of even the knowledge. We are of late shifting from knowledge to technical skills and value-based. You know what is happening all over. There are Adani issues and all this. We must invest in these children at very young age. So as FCDC, we want to be at the center of that transformation. We are doing it, and with the support of government agencies, strategic partnership with other partners, we are sure that's the direction we will go. We want to appeal as we go to the PLS Summit in Wajir that starts on 8th and will end on 10th, that will be closed by His Excellency, the President of the country. Can we really reverse the narrative and ensure issues related to children is given a key priority?
I like that.
We should not only wait for investment from partners. Governments have budgets. Let us make sure our budgets are children sensitive. Our child budgets have enough provisions for these very innocent young souls who cannot speak for them, who cannot be in podiums to agitate for votes and to really talk for themselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Very quickly before we have been cut word. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. For me, my message is that we are all investors in early childhood development. Each one of us has a role to play, and my urge is to all caregivers, whether you're a parent, brother, sister, play with your child. They are home now. They are home all day. Please play with your child. If not for anything, grow a bean or a tomato with them.
I like that. Thank you very much.
So
10 seconds.
For me, I think it's clear. Early childhood is a smart investment. It doesn't have to have a lot of money. We really can invest. And one thing we didn't mention that I think would be a really interesting conversation are our cultural assets.
I see that.
Children were brought up by a village. How can we go back to ensure communities support young mothers for the best outcomes?
All right. And I like that. Food for thought for everyone who's watching. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you as well for sticking with us until the end of the show. Now I know you know better, and the ball is in our court. We all have a role to play, all right? My name is Winnie Lubembe. Have yourselves a lovely day ahead, and we'll see you tomorrow morning right here on Your World for Trendy Thursday. You do not want to miss that. See you then. Goodbye.